Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the debut episode of the Piledriver interviews. I am the best in the world, and sitting to my right is the one and only Yo Paulie.
Hey, thanks for having me.
The voice of OCW is in the building. I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to come on and hang out and talk to us a little bit today.
I've heard my name pop up on this particular establishment a few different times, and we've run the ropes together a few different times in a few different places. Let's do it.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So, I'll just jump right into it with you. My first question is: have you always been a wrestling fan?
Yeah, pretty much. I was a wrestling fan before it was cool.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember being on the Jungle Gym as a kid, and everybody's like, "Oh, you watch wrestling?" And then it's probably maybe 4 years later, everybody's like, "Oh, did you see what Stone Cold did?
That's right.
Oh my God,
okay.
He dropped him with a stunner."
So
you were
around for the the honky tonk Hulk Hogan. You were a fan then before this became cool. Before we were telling our teachers to suck it and stuff.
I had a Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy.
Okay, I had Ultimate Warrior wrestling buddy, so I get it.
It was easier to get Hulk than it was to get Warrior. Let me tell you.
I have an Ultimate Warrior one.
Somewhere in my closet, in some sort of storage, I'm sure we could find that thing because it's still around. I beat that thing to hell. He had this big ass nose.
Oh yeah, the noses on him were ginormous.
It was like a Triple H style schnoz. I remember just picking him up by that one time. Just, nose slam, boom. Why nobody does that, I don't know. Nose slam, 2022. Let's do it.
The new wrestling buddies actually weren't as cool like this. The Cody Rhodes one.
They're smaller too.
Yeah, they weren't. How are you supposed to wrestle with that?
You're not, unless you're like a baby.
My friend Maddie and I, we used to have this. It was a white Power Ranger, and it was 4 foot tall. And we used to wrestle with that because it had legitimate arms and stuff. It was really cool. So I'll keep it while you're young, I guess. Let's talk about. You said you have always been a wrestling fan. So what's your very first memory of wrestling?
Strangely enough, because I went back through the Rolodex of all those different memories and things like that. The first thing that I remember clearly was the build-up to SummerSlam 1994 between The Undertaker and The Undertaker.
Okay.
So they had these commercials where Leslie Nielsen was trying to find the real Undertaker under the premise of Domino's Pizza.
Because this was Naked Gun time.
Yes.
Correct.
And I remember he did one at a playground. And for the next 6 months, I would not go to the playground.
Because you thought The Undertaker was
I thought The Undertaker was going to show up. The hell with that? I am not taking this chance.
Okay.
The slide ain't worth it. Remember that, kids. The slide ain't worth it.
Especially if The Undertaker's there.
But yeah, and then the build to that. And I remember my dad took us to one of his friend's house who bought the pay-per-view. I think he bought the pay-per-view. I don't know. This was 1994. You don't know what the hell was going on with
black
that thing.
Boxes and stuff. We're
going to assume that he did so that Vince McMahon doesn't try to get me to pay him $24.95 plus tax.
That's right.
But I remember watching it, and I'm like, oh, cool. He came out in purple. He's different. And then you look at him next to, was it Brian Lee, I think his name was?
Yeah.
In the gray, and you're like, holy crap, this dude's at least 6 inches smaller.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you see that, you're like, okay. Now I know who the Undertaker is.
Now I know who the real Undertaker is.
And the whole presentation with Paul Bearer coming out with this big-ass urn with the light that he shines off the top of it, shining towards the stage, and then all of a sudden, everything starts going off, and you've got the Undertaker feel. Because, beforehand, it didn't feel like the Undertaker. Because you can go back and watch all this footage on various social media now, and if you know what to look for, it was painfully obvious.
Yeah.
This was not the Undertaker. Damn you, Ted DiBiase. Cameron Grimes was on that a long time ago. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's my very first memory of wrestling was actually, it's probably not my first memory, but if I have to think about it, and pick one of my earliest memories that I remember very vividly was when Undertaker disappeared. I can't remember the exact Royal Rumble, but Kane put the Undertaker in the casket and set him on fire.
98,
okay.
Leading up to WrestleMania 14.
Okay, yeah, so Undertaker was gone, and he disappeared for 3-4 months. I was 10 years old, 11 years old. My mom took me to Raw at the Gund Arena, and the Undertaker came back that night. The Druids came out in the casket, and they put this casket on the stage, and lightning comes down and hits it. All the walls shatter, and the Undertaker sits up. It's probably the very most vivid wrestling memory I have.
I will say that the Undertaker stuff is the oldest memory that I can come up with, but it's not my favorite memory from that era.
Look at you. Look at him. He's psychic. That was my next question.
I had a feeling. I
What's
remember
your favorite wrestling memory?
the higher power.
The higher power.
The higher power, dude. That was when I wanted to become an announcer.
I was just about to say that was when he liked Michael Cole. That was when he fell in love with Michael Cole.
No, that's when I really fell in love with Jim Ross.
Okay.
Because Jim Ross was baited in, essentially. Just like every fan. When Vince McMahon reveals, "It was me, Austin," as soon as he says, "Oh, you son of a..."
You can cuss on this show. It's okay, Paul.
Well, no, he actually didn't say son of a bitch. Son of a... So, as soon as he said that, and I was like, man, he's pissed just like I am.
Okay.
Awesome.
So that was when you decided.
Now, it was then I was okay, I can do that because I'm capable of talking about it.
Well, I'm gonna use that actually to segue into my next question that I have here. What is that something that made you want to get in? Because you are the voice of OCW, you are the play-by-play guy.
Shout out to No Shame Jimmy Shane. I got your shirt
for everything at OCW. You backstage interview. You are basically Michael Cole then, now, and forever, because Michael Cole used to do interviews and now he sits at the table.
Yeah.
So you are basically him, past and present, and
I'm him lumped into one weird
ball of Yo Paulie. What made you want to become a commentator? Was it that fact that, stuff like the higher power storyline, that you were like, it's okay for the announcers to be as pissed off as I am as a fan?
For me, it was always, I love wrestling, and I've always wanted to learn about it. Like, I read as many books as you could get your grubby little hands on. Like, when Mick Foley wrote his autobiography, I had it.
Okay.
When, you name the autobiography, I read it. Like, I've read... like 3 of the 4 of Mick Foley. Jesus God, Mick, stop writing autobiographies.
Don't do it, Mick.
We get it. You are awesome.
Keep doing it.
We also read your blog. Chill out. But like, just learning about the backstage stuff and learning how a match is put together and how one little thing can change everything and how you live and die for that pop and all of these subtle intricacies that the average fan isn't paying attention to were things that I was already noticing. So for me, I was just like, oh, okay. So they want this moment to be so that you can get back down for a minute and then take them back up on the ride.
Basically like the thrill of the ride for you. You
Absolutely.
like the highs and the lows of it that you can, and especially
Absolutely.
because you as the commentator get to facilitate these for the people that are watching.
100%. Our job at the broadcast table, first in anything, is to put over the stars that are in the ring, because I'm not a wrestler. I'm not trained to be a wrestler. I hope that's not a spoiler alert to anybody.
Let me tell you about this standing O that Paulie got at Tradition, though. So
yeah, it feels weird because like I'm a commentator.
I was gonna say that was my next question is how does it feel, because you do, as the face commentator, you do get cheered, Paulie. When Pedro, our ring announcer, announces the commentating team, people are cheering for you, bro. They're excited. That means they can't hear you. I can't hear you as the cameraman, so I know that the people in the crowd can't hear you, which means they're listening to the show, or at least are watching it back and rewatching the interviews and stuff. They like you, Paulie.
It's a weird feeling.
The OCW faithful is very invested in Yo Paulie.
And I don't want to take people too far behind the curtain, but a lot of wrestlers have said the same thing to me, and I always appreciate it because it's very humbling and not in the entourage way.
Not in the entourage way.
I'm sure I'm going to hear it from Nick at some point, because if he goes back and listens to Tradition...
Oh, I'm telling him you're the one that gave me that joke if he listens to the podcast. So,
it's still a good joke.
But as the voice of OCW, how long have you actually been a commentator, or did you start somewhere else with OCW? Like currently I'm doing camera work, so did you start doing camera work and kind of move your way up to interviews, or
No.
You just jumped right into the broadcast booth?
So I was doing some stuff for the MMA side of Jeremy Caudell Promotions, because they own Honor Fighting Championship.
Okay.
And I heard that they also owned Ohio Championship Wrestling. I'm like, oh, sweet. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because, again, another spoiler alert. I don't know much about MMA.
We will be doing MMA, though.
I don't fake that at all. When I was doing the MMA stuff, I was literally reacting like a fan, just like, holy crap, he punched him as hard as he could right in the face.
Yeah.
That was, and I think because it was so different from what you were getting from UFC and Bellator, because they're, what a Juji Gatami into the side arm bar, and then he transitions into the full. And
that's not your style of play-by-play, because you don't know all the moves.
Because I don't know all that, and it's going to take years to get to that point.
Yeah, because you've been doing this wrestling thing for years, and it's still new stuff's coming out every week. New moves and this stuff.
The nice thing about wrestling is you can use some of that to cover the MMA side. Oh, look, I'm going to do like McMahon did on the McAfee podcast. I'm just going to beat the hell out of your microphone.
Okay.
But, like, to get to where I was and where I am today, it all goes back to the wrestling video games.
Yeah.
And I know that's going to sound really
I was going to say,
stupid.
he was telling me about this on our ride home from Tradition this week.
But, like, my friends and I would play the wrestling games, going back to SmackDown 1.
Okay.
And I would book a pay-per-view, because you had this thing called Create a Pay-Per-View. Everybody had their characters, and I'd book the matches. And then when I didn't have to compete in my match,
when Paulie wasn't holding the sticks,
I'm literally
was
sitting there doing nothing. I'm like, okay, I'll
commentating
just
the
call the matches. And lo and behold, people liked that better than when I was doing
when you were playing
all that stuff. Because when I'm playing a wrestling video game, I'm just in there to punch you in the face as many times as I can and get the hell out of there. Spoiler alert number 3. Here's how it goes. Bam.
Okay.
Oh, you got up.
I haven't played a wrestling game in a couple of years. I know you've been playing the new one.
Still up? Bam. I'm not even a lefty, and you're down.
That's that combo you don't like, though. That's that combo you don't like.
And the great thing is, I love playing the heel. In a video game, always a heel.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just so much more fun.
Well, they always give you the option, like low blows and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I had one character that had, like, all of them. Because that was the perfect way to just piss people off. Just bam, 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 bam. Yeah. He looked like Ric Flair in his prime, just the way he's hitting low blows out of every location possible. You thought he was joining the entourage.
Now, I do want to get back into a little bit wrestling, wise, and you as the announcer. So far to this point, how long have you been doing this? How long yearly? Let's just give me years.
Started in 2019.
So about 3 years.
At Tradition.
About 3 years ago, you've been doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. You actually just had your anniversary.
Yeah,
3 years for OCW.
I was talking about that with Glenn and Jimmy.
In that 3 years, what has been your favorite match to call so far?
I had a really funny feeling that would be a question you would ask, and that's a tough one. That is a real tough one.
Okay, give me your top 3 then, if you can narrow it down a little bit.
I can narrow it down to top 3 because 100% what we did at Tradition was awesome.
This past Saturday?
Yes, Extreme Warfare at Tradition 2022 was awesome. It's the first time I've genuinely lost my voice.
Okay.
Like, towards the end there, I literally turned into Jim Ross circa the Attitude Era, where I'm just screaming into the headset.
It was a phenomenal show. It was a phenomenal show.
I'm just screaming into the microphone, hoping that something comes out that sounds decent. I think at one point I called one of Nick? I called him a cockroach.
Yeah.
Because I'm throwing everything I got at that match. Because it's the main event of our biggest show of the year.
Okay.
And like I told everybody, if you can't get excited for the biggest match
the
year.
The house was raucous last night.
That is the moment that you should hang it up. Because if you can't get excited for that, you're not good at what you do. But that would definitely be in my top 3.
So Extreme Warfare.
A very underrated match is, what was it? It was a couple months ago. Bruce Gray versus Brandon Fields.
Okay.
And the reason why it was so much fun to call was because we had Ron Mathis and Glenn Lane.
I remember this.
On commentary. So I'm running a 4-man booth for the first time in quite some time. And Ron, I think, was trying to actively break everybody. Because he gets up as Bruce is coming out and goes, "Hey, Brucey, I'm a commentator." And I'm just dying. And I remember that.
It was hilarious.
There's not a camera on me at all times because literally I lost it. I bent down, and I just
Pure
lost it, so.
trash. Ron Mathis is very funny and also a very,
Very knowledgeable.
very good wrestler.
He gave us some great insight to Bruce that we would not have had otherwise, and made a match that was already good, great. And that is the mark of a good commentator, in my opinion. You should be able to take something good and make it great.
Based on your, ability to talk about it. All right, one more. Give me one more. Favorite match to call.
One more. I'll give you the main event from last year's tradition, because we did have a ladder match. We actually had a tables, ladders, and chairs match for the OCW Heavyweight Championship, Jimmy Shane versus Matthew Taylor, that ended with a really rough moment where it was supposed to be a ladder drop, like off the ladder through two tables on the floor, but one of the tables didn't break and Matt just went.
Oh.
And that was scary as hell. I've called 2 matches for Matthew Taylor. Don't want to call him Matt because it's the guiding light.
That's
Matthew
the guiding
Taylor.
light, Matthew Taylor.
That's an important thing in commentary. Know what you have to say. Like if you are talking about, say, the Undertaker, you're not on the commentary calling him Taker.
Yeah.
Because that's disrespectful. That's not who he is. He is the
So
Undertaker.
The guiding light, Matthew Taylor.
So Matthew went flying through the table. The other table didn't break. That was terrifying. And then Polino Mania, when the bottom rope just, and he crumbled on the mat. We're all like, and I'm sitting there going, okay, number one, that's somebody that I know who is currently potentially hurt. And number two, I have to figure out how to continue this broadcast.
Without worrying about your friend.
We don't know where this is going now. And I have a general idea of what our backup plan might be in this case, because we've run that backup plan a couple times to make sure that we send the crowd home happy. But you never know what's going to happen, and you don't know the health and well-being of the man. So generally speaking, because I work with Matthew Taylor, he does a lot of our backstage stuff for interviews and things like that. He's very, very instrumental in that. And when you see somebody like that get hurt, it's like
I said,
okay?
yeah. It's one of more like, is that, my friend's okay?
Like
let me check on my friend,
instinctually,
yeah.
I was about to get up from the broadcast and go check.
Just go check on him, definitely.
That's just where I was. But yeah, it's always a lot of fun, and I think that's the biggest thing. We have a set of notes that we get before every show.
Okay.
And the one thing that I have always taken off of every page of those notes is it says, have fun. That's what wrestling is. It's supposed to be fun. I've heard you guys talk on the Piledriver podcast. Sorry. Piledriver!
There you go. You better come correct around here.
Trying to not step on any toes here. But I've heard you guys talk about the difference between the WWE fan and the AEW fan. And how WWE fans just want AEW and everything else to die.
It's just, there's this weird, strange loyalty they have.
It is. And if you want to have a strange loyalty, do it to a company that doesn't make millions of dollars every year.
Do it to a company like OCW, where these guys are coming out every month and putting their bodies on the line. I mean, like I said, last night was probably my favorite show not last night, but this past Saturday at Tradition was probably my favorite show to film because of the fact every match went hard, and it was just a great overall show.
And shout out to the dog collar match. That was amazing between Gino DiCapo and Chuck the Truck Morris, the Ohio Heritage Championship.
Was that your first dog collar match that you've ever called?
I think it's the first dog collar match I've ever watched in its entirety.
Okay.
Because I can't honestly, I didn't watch Punk and MJF. Okay. Because I kind of knew what direction that was going to head anyways. And while I'm interested in the match,
I know you're not.
I'm not going to drop $44.95 on a.
Well, I also know that you're not much of the fan of like all the blood, etc. Like you don't mind a little bit, but I know that like death match style. That's not. That's not your stilo, Paulie, and I get it.
It's tough because I know Jimmy Shane likes to use thumbtacks
in
a lot of his street fight matches, and I was surprised that didn't come into play at Extreme Warfare. But I've called enough of those moments where I'm like, oh God,
yeah,
and it's just you brace yourself for it. A lot of it for me is anytime I see thumbtacks come into play, I'm going to feel the same way I did the first time I saw it. Like there are 2 moments in wrestling history that I will always react the same to, no matter when I see it.
I have one of those, and one of mine might be the same as yours.
Mick Foley going off the top of Hell in
the
a
cell every time. I know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I see it happening. I see him get grabbed by the scruff, and he hits that table, and every time I still go ooh, every time.
Every time. And then the choke slam through.
Oh, through the top of the cell.
Like that match, you know,
the way he landed was just crazy. Just crumpled him.
That still scares me that Mick Foley is able to walk and talk.
Yeah.
Let alone write 15 books.
He's Santa Claus too.
Come on.
So let me get in.
He is.
I have this question, and then I have one more question, and we'll wrap up. I don't want to keep you here all night. You're a busy guy.
I am.
So,
yes, I am.
Do you have a dream match that you would like to call?
Like in OCW or just in general?
Just in general. You can give me this is a hypothetical here. Give me a dream scenario. If you could call a match right now between, what kind of match would it be? Who would be the competitors? Your dream match to be the commentator for.
If I had to pick a dream match, it would always be a Hell in a Cell.
I was going to say, you can even do like a 2K type of deal and be like 1994 Shawn Michaels versus, I'm okay with that.
I would love to call just any Hell in a Cell match.
Okay.
Because the story that you can tell in a Hell in a Cell match is so much different than what you get in any other match.
Okay.
Like, there's not too many matches.
Like, it's not even the same as just like a regular cage match. The cell is completely different.
Because the Hell in a Cell itself is another person in the match.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that you hear from every wrestler who's ever competed in that thing, is that it's its own
it's a
separate
different demon.
beast.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about how it's the perverse diabolical structure is what Jim Ross nicknamed it. And it wasn't because it was cute and sold t-shirts. It was because that when you get inside that thing,
it's scary.
It's different.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff always intrigues me, because anytime you can tell a really good story, I'm all for it. I'm in.
Okay. All right.
Plus, let's be honest here. WWE ain't knocking on my door anytime soon. So
they might be. You never know. You never know. I actually thought I had another question, but I don't. So, do you want to drop any socials for OCW, yourself?
Oh, yeah. Check out, right now, we're on BelieveLandMediaLLC.com.
Yes, sir.
Which is the home for OCW Overload, which is the home for Ohio Championship Wrestling. It's probably how they secured this interview with such a famous, important person. I kid. But in all seriousness, definitely check out Ohio Championship Wrestling. Come to some of our shows. Be a part of the action, except stay on your side of the barricade, of course.
Definitely.
Follow along on OCW Flashpoint on YouTube, because that's where you'll get the exclusive pre-match interview that I do with each one of those matches. I think I did 6 at the last show.
Okay.
Which is probably the most I've
that
done.
You said that was OCW Flashpoint, correct?
Flashpoint.
Yeah, and on YouTube. And then get Paulie's exclusive interviews, rewatch the shows.
It's so much fun. It is... When you can have fun doing something that you would do for free,
yeah,
that
definitely.
is when you've got something that you want to follow and chase forever.
How about yourself? You got any socials for yourself? I know you're on the Twitter.
I am on the Twitter, and I don't use it except for news.
Paulie just reads about the Guardians and stuff.
Yeah, well, goodness.
He's out there.
Lord knows I wish the Guardians would win.
I know. That's okay. That's all right.
You can follow me on social media at PaulHCLE.
Oh, yeah, and on his Instagram, because my dude Paul's got sweet socks.
I do. I have, at the last chance I checked, it would have been 197 pairs.
100 of all different pairs of socks.
I've got a special one coming up for 200.
Little fun fact to end the show with. So
if you see me at a show, ask me what my socks look like. Who knows? It might be something special. Tonight, it's something speciel.
That's right, man. Well, I definitely want to thank you a lot for coming and hanging out and talking with us and getting to know a little bit more about you, Paulie the person.
Getting to know me. That's weird.
What kind of socks do you have on today? You said you got the special socks on today. What socks do you have on today, bud?
I have on a pair of Brock Lesnar socks that was bought for me about a year ago.
Oh yeah.
By somebody in this room.
Oh yeah, excellent. That's fantastic. Brock Lesnar's one of your favorites, huh?
No, not at all.
All right, we knew that going in, but I just wanted to double check with you on your socks for the day.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate you and everything you do.
Thanks for having me. I set the bar here, so every other person who follows me can suck it. Yeah,
that's right.
Is that how that works?
That's right.
Wait, you got Ely coming, right?
I do have Ely coming.
Oh, yeah.
I do have Ely coming.
Yeah.
I have Ely and I have Chris Yeager. We're gonna set up some more too, because maybe I might get the made man actually. That's my next ask. So
Ely's gonna come in here and be like, 15 minutes of just
that's fine.
He's gonna be all over the place.
That's perfect.
If he's on Zoom, you won't see him. You won't see him in the film shot all the time because he'll just be over here and over there, in the Thunder Aquarium over here.
The Thunder Aquarium. All right, man. Well, thank you again so much. I hope everybody has a good night, and thanks for tuning in to the first episode of the Piledriver interviews.